everyone, or good afternoon. It's afternoon now, and thank you for joining us today. We're here today to discuss a simple, common sense, and long overdue effort to keep all residents of Minnesota State safe on our roads, allowing Minnesotans without lawful status to access driver's licenses. Today, we're reintroducing a bill that the Minnesota House passed for the first time ever in 2019. That day on the floor was one of the most beautiful and powerful experiences that I've had in this building. A broad coalition of law enforcement, business, faith, and immigrant rights organizations came together to reject the politics of division and assert that our state will be safer and more prosperous when we just deal with reality. We have a non-functional immigration system at the federal level. Those without lawful status are part of our community. They are driving their kids to school. They are driving themselves to work. They're getting groceries in their cars. What we're saying with this effort is that these drivers should take a test, ensuring that they know that they know the rules of the road, that they should have insurance, and that they should have appropriate documentation to operate motor vehicles. So many in the immigrant community are the essential food and healthcare workers who we celebrate with our words during this time of the pandemic and who are at extreme risk of COVID. And when you look at the statistics, you see this borne out, that immigrants are more likely to fall ill with COVID, more likely to be hospitalized, and more likely to die. It's time for our actions to reflect those kind words that we give to essential workers who keep our economy going, who support our kids in school, who take care of our elderly folks when they're sick, who process and deliver the food that we all need. My mom has this thing, she says, now is the time to come with your best. And it's like just always applicable. It's always the right time to do the right thing. And this is just the right thing to do. It's right for families, it's right for businesses, and it's right for the general public safety and welfare of all of those who drive on the roads in Minnesota. A broad coalition of community organizations, as I mentioned, everything from immigrant advocacy organizations to, the largest religious and business and law enforcement organizations in our state have come together to support this effort. Today, we're going to hear from Minnesotans across the state about their personal stories and how this legislation would impact them if and when we're able to get it over the line. So I'm just going to pass it over right away to one of these people who's speaking for her mother, who is one of the essential workers who's keeping our food system moving during this time. Joselyn Gonzalez Mejia is going to be our first speaker. Thank you so much.
Hello. So yeah, I am speaking on behalf of my mother. She has worked at a meat packing plant for about as long as I've been alive, so about 20 years now. This pandemic has really shown us how important our essential workers are, most specifically people that work in the meatpacking plant, especially at plants like JBS. My mother isn't able to work from home because she plays a key role in ensuring that everyone nationwide has a meal at the table. So why aren't they essential enough to have the basic transportation need met by allowing them access to a driver's license? We have meatpacking plant workers carpooling in vans of up to 10 people, up to 14 people. And in those close quarters and proximity, you can only imagine the type of danger they're putting themselves in order to get to work. One infected person in that van can infect the other 9, and the other option of transportation isn't very viable either. When you don't have access to driving or bike, especially in the snow, you have to walk. At 5 in the morning, the regular time that our workers are making their commute, the average temperature last week was -7 degrees Fahrenheit, with it actually feeling like -19 degrees to -23 degrees. So I ask again, Why aren't they essential enough to have the basic transportation need met by allowing them access to a driver's license? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jose Palma. My name is Julio Perez Espinosa. He's going to read his statement in Spanish, and at the end, I will read it in English. Thank you. Jose Palma, puedes empezar a hablar.
Buenas tardes a todos y gracias por permitirme estar aquí. Mi nombre es José Guadalupe Palma y vivo en Estados Unidos por 24 años, en Chicago y en Iowa y en Minnesota. Trabajo en la producción de alimentos en varios ranchos de puercos. Tengo 2 niñas con mi primera esposa en Iowa y 4 con mi segunda esposa en Aguatana, donde vivo y trabajo. En los últimos 10 años, mis hijos son ciudadanos americanos. Soy una persona de orientación familiar donde todo gira alrededor de los valores familiares. Enseño a mis hijos a ser parte de la comunidad que ellos pertenecen. Los llevo a la escuela, a la iglesia, a los parques y actividades, al igual que la familia americana. Mi gran temor es que tenemos que usar el carro para ir de un lugar a otro. Yo visito a mis hijas en Iowa cada 2 semanas, pero 10 horas de viaje no son agradables porque mi gran temor es que un día la policía me pare y entregue a las autoridades de migración y pueda perder a mi familia en Iowa y Aguatana. Aprendí a manejar, a obedecer las señales de tránsito, compré mi seguro del carro, pero ¿para qué me sirve todo eso si siempre vivo al temor de ser detenido y puedo perder a mi familia y el lugar que amo? Esto es el temor de muchos inmigrantes que vemos nosotros. Producimos y esta comunidad pagamos impuestos como somos parte de la ciudad y lo hacemos mejor. Me pregunto cuándo va a ser el día en que los legisladores van a ayudarnos a ser mejores minnesotanos, que no vivamos con el temor de merecer el privilegio como cualquier otro residente para vivir en paz y producir mejor nuestra sociedad.
Hi, my name is Jose Guadalupe Palma. I've been in the U.S. for 24 years between Chicago, Iowa, and Minnesota, working in pork food production in Capel Ranch. I have 2 kids from my first wife in Iowa and 4 more from my second marriage in Owatonna, where I live and I have been working for the past 10 years. My kids are U.S. citizens. I'm a family-oriented person where family values are the center of my life. I like to raise and teach my kids to be part of the community that they belong to. I take them to school, church, parks, and any activities like any other American person takes care of its family. My only fear is that we must use the car to move to places. I visit my 2 daughters every 2 weeks in Iowa. It isn't fun to drive 10 hours to see them. Why? My biggest fear is that someday I might be stopped by the police and I will be turned into immigration authorities and lose my family here in Owatonna in Iowa. I learned how to drive, I obey traffic laws, I buy my car insurance, but what is that good for if I always live in fear to
everything.
be taken away from my family and the place I love? This is the fear that many of us live with. We produce in this community, we pay taxes, we're part of it, we make it better. It's going to be a day legislators will help us out to be a better Minnesotans that don't live in fear to lose it all. We deserve a driver license privilege like any other resident to have peace of mind and be more productive in our society. Thank you very much.
Marianne Quiros is next.
Hello, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Ang pangalan ko at si Marianne Quiros. Maraming salamat sa nagagayos ng komperensyang ito. My name is Marianne Quiros. There are a minimum of about 20,000 people who identify as Filipino in the state of Minnesota. My family and I immigrated directly to these Dakota lands, specifically to the east side of St. Paul in 1989. Although our family entered legally with a visa and became temporary residents, unfortunately today, not all of my siblings are documented, and for this reason, unable to get a driver's license. My sibling, who is undocumented, is an essential hard worker in the food industry and a contributor to our society. Having access to a driver's license not only ensures safety for my brother, but for all of us as well. Usually the typical story is that, Filipinos, Asians enter here, and it's not really knowingly known that we can also be undocumented due to visa expiration or any issues that may come up. So for me, I just want to say thank you to the coalition and for everyone that has worked hard to try and get this moving forward, and hope that our representatives fight along with us, and that this isn't just an issue solely directed as a Mexican or Latinx or a specific culture. It does involve all of us, and it's going to take all of us to unite together in solidarity to push it forward and make sure that everyone has driver's license. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Christina.
Mi nombre es Cristina, soy miembro de Fe y Justicia. He vivido en Minnesota por más de 16 años y considero que el hecho que nos otorguen una licencia para conducir y para mí sería un gran beneficio. En mi caso, tengo que ir a trabajar. Yo vivo en una zona rural donde no pasa la transportación, no hay bases, es un pueblo muy pequeño. Necesito licencia para ir a manejar porque yo trabajo en las madrugadas y no hay quien me pueda llevar. Otra cosa es, tengo 2 hijos con necesidades especiales. Ellos tienen que atender 3 veces a la semana a citas médicas. En ocasiones las citas me las han dado hasta Minneapolis, en las cities, y yo como no manejo, a veces tengo que pedirle a alguien que me lleve y a veces las personas no están disponibles para mí y me toca cancelar esas citas. Mi hijo, el mayor, muchas veces me ha dicho, mamá, ¿por qué no me inscribes? Yo quiero estar en un equipo de la escuela, de fútbol, de hockey, de todos esos. Le digo, mijo, tú sabes que yo no tengo licencia, yo no puedo andar para arriba y para abajo, yo no puedo llevarte a los entrenamientos, llevarte a las competencias. A veces me las veo muy difícil para llevar a tus hermanos a sus citas y no te puedo llevar a ti. Es muy frustrante para mí no poderlo llevar a sus actividades que él desea, y él también se siente triste. Como a 1.5 horas de Minneapolis, San Paul. Mis hijos no conocen lo que es Minneapolis, San Paul. Mis hijos no saben lo que es un Mall de América. Mis hijos no saben nada. Ellos nada más están de la escuela a la casa, de la escuela a la casa. Ellos también están sufriendo por esta situación. Por eso quisiera que por favor nos apoyaran para que nos dieran una licencia de conducir. Gracias.
Hi, and I'm going to interpret real quick what Cristina had just said. So it says, hello, my name is Cristina. I'm a member of Faith and Justice, Fe y Justicia. Minnesota has been my home for over 16 years, and I consider a driver's license to be a necessity for me and many working people who live in this state. In my case, I live in a rural city, a rural town, and there is no transportation. I have to go to work, and I work early hours, and there's sometimes no and no one to give me a ride there. And I also have children with special needs. The need is great because my children have medical appointments sometimes 3 times a week, and sometimes they are even up in the metro area. And it's very difficult for me to find someone who could take me to their appointments. There are many times where I've had to cancel because of lack of transportation. My oldest son has asked me to sign him up to be involved in sports in within his school district, but I've had to tell him sadly that I don't have a license to be able to take him to and from practices or to and from competitions, and so that's the reason why he can't join sports like football, soccer, hockey. It's very sad and it's very difficult for me, and I know that it's also frustrating for him because I can't bring him to these things. My children are American citizens, and it's not fair that the government doesn't think of them with regards to having them be involved citizens. We need a driver's license to give our children a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina and Jessica, for translating. Next,
Thank
we're
you.
going to hear from Carlos Urrutia.
Hi, my name is Carlos Urrutia, and I attend St. Odelia Church in Shoreview. I'm a faith leader with Isaiah. I've been a faith leader for a long, long time. Back in 2018, I was detained by ICE at the courthouse elevator, um, the county courthouse. I was detained for a long, long time there, a total of 19 months in Ramsey County. I mean, in Sherburne County Jail. Um, and I met a lot of people that are there for traffic violations. For something as simple as making sure your kids can get to school, be taken to the doctor, or pick up groceries. A license is essential. No one should be asked to walk for miles carrying carrying groceries in freezing weather or across multiple towns to get to work without having access to a car. I have a lot of family and friends in Minnesota who don't have a license and are constantly at risk to experience being torn apart from their families by immigration. This is a form of torture, a punishment. A license should not be treated as a privilege that some politicians use to divide certain communities. We should make sure undocumented immigrants have a driver license under a belief that we are created and loved by God and we are deserving of being connected to our families no matter who we are, what our immigration status is. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we're going to hear from Representative Sandra Feist and then Majority Leader Ryan Winkler.
Thank you, Representative Gomez. So I am Sandra Feist. I am an immigration attorney, and my entire adult life has been working in immigration law. And as an advocate, I've been, rooting for this issue, and it is such an honor to be a co-author of this important legislation. This bill is about so much, and as the other presenters have discussed, it's about just recognizing that driver's licenses are a part of keeping families together and engaged in the community. It's about allowing parents to take their kids to soccer. It's about groceries. It's about economic opportunities. It's about people who are working in our meatpacking plants, that we should encourage and facilitate their ability to contribute to Minnesota's economy. I just think this bill makes so much sense from a public safety standpoint. We are ensuring that people who are on our roads already have the training and knowledge that they need to be safe drivers. And we're ensuring that they have insurance so that if they get in a car accident, that insurance kicks in. So this is about the immigrant communities, it's about US citizen family members, and it's about public safety. And I would just like to add that, driving without a license should not tear families apart. And when someone who's had previous connection with immigration enforcement gets pulled over and arrested for driving without a license, they can get deported, and that affects their whole family. And that's just not right. So I'm just extremely honored and excited to be here with everyone who has spoken so movingly about how this would impact their lives. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon to talk about this issue that has been so long in coming and is still not done. We have been working on restoring the ability of Minnesotans of all immigrant backgrounds to have access to a driver's license since it was removed in 2003 in the wake of 9/11 at a time when a Republican governor did not care about immigrant voices. So much has changed since that time, and all Minnesotans deserve to be able to work, live, and take care of their families, especially as we're seeing during COVID-19. We have tremendous differences in how we treat each other in Minnesota. About 30,000 children in Minnesota are US citizens who have undocumented parents. The stories that we are hearing today about families and the things that they have to forego or do without are not just a few voices. There are 30,000 kids whose parents aren't able to drive them to school, to dentist appointments, to sports, to all the things that make up a good family life in Minnesota. 69% of undocumented immigrants in Minnesota work in frontline jobs. That more than two-thirds of undocumented immigrants in Minnesota are working for us right now, making sure that we are safe, making sure that we are not harmed through this pandemic, making sure that we can put food on the table. They are providing a huge benefit to Minnesota, and we are treating them miserably. There's a powerful justice argument for driver's licenses for all. That's why we have the support of the Catholic Church in Minnesota. There is a powerful argument for public safety. That is why we have the support of law enforcement. There is a powerful argument for the economic benefits of providing driver's licenses to everyone in Minnesota, and that is why the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce so strongly supports this bill. The reasons for this bill vastly outweigh any objections, and that is why we have so many Republicans who are willing to support this bill. The question is not whether it is right. The question is not whether it's good policy. The question is not whether we have bipartisan support. The only question is whether the Minnesota Senate is willing to actually step up and pass this bill again. The Senate under Democrats has passed it. It's time for the Senate under Republicans to do so and join us this session in providing driver's licenses for all. We are ready to do it. Lastly, I just want to acknowledge my colleagues, Aisha Gomez, Mike Howard, Sandra Feist, who've been working in this arena for so long and making such a difference. The coalition that we together work with, the people who are speaking here and so many others across Minnesota are powerful. They reach every community in the state. Immigration is not just about agricultural communities or big cities. We have immigrants everywhere in Minnesota adding to our economy. And if you spend any time getting to know people who are struggling through without a driver's license, struggling through with our nation's terrible immigration system, you will know that they have the beating heart of Minnesota. They are the beating heart of our communities. They are our future. And it's time we stepped up and did the right thing for them. And now we're ready for questions.
If you have a question, if you want to use the raise hand function or enter it into the chat. Any questions?
Can you hear me okay? This is John Croman from CARE.
Yes, go ahead.
In the past, the coalition included like dairy farmers and other groups that rely heavily on immigrant Minnesotans for labor. And do you still have those people in your coalition or those types of groups?
Yes, absolutely. We have not just agriculture, but the Chamber of Commerce in general still strongly support this bill.
Do any of the people taking part in this, in today's press conference, have experience with having their family broken up because of a traffic stop that you could share with us?
I don't know, Mr. Urrutia, if you want to talk about that. You experienced family separation. That is what this
Yes.
our current policy results in.
Yes. So I've been a faith leader with Isaiah before I even was arrested. And when I was in detention, I met hundreds of men, because it's a men's facility where I was. I see many being deported, um, from not only from Minnesota but from North Dakota and South Dakota and Wisconsin. But it's the the stories I heard, it is basically, just the car broke down in the middle of the freeway. The police come, no driver license, end up in jail, end up in turn into immigration. Many, especially it broke my heart. Um, like people like young families with one or two kids, very young, where the man is deported to Mexico, Central America, or Somalia. Many countries I met, uh, they've been sent away because you have a broken life, because your car broke down in the middle of the freeway, or even for just like a, a traffic violation. So it's it was very painful to see that broken families. That's why even I just I got out of there after long incarceration. I'm here because I know is necessary. I know is the right thing to do, so families can live not in fear. It is very essential. Um, it's necessary. So I think everybody that is in this call. Thank you.
And then Mailena Gutierrez, you had something on this point?
Yes, I want to share. My name is Mailena Gutierrez from Fe Justicia. So my brother was arrested when he was 16 years old, and he showed up identification from Washington State, because we used to live in Washington State. And the deputy that pulled, like, he was not even driving. He was on the parking lot. He went to pick up something from the car, and the deputy came and asked him for identification, and he provide identification from Washington State, and he said, this doesn't work for me. You need to prove that you have a identification from Minnesota. This one doesn't work. This one is a fake. And it was not a fake. He was arrested, put it in jail in Stearns County with adult people, and he was deported. Fortunately, my mom helped him to come back to the U.S., and he is here in the U.S. He suffered he was a victim of crime, and now he has documents, but he was deported when he was 16 years old.
Marlene, I'm sorry to hear about your brother. And Carlos, thank you for your answer as well.
All right, we're getting to the end of our time here. Are there any final questions or comments that anyone was hoping to make? All right, thank you all for being here.